Okay, so sorry for the audio. Um, okay, so this is a segment that Speak for Yourself. Speak for Yourself had today. It was regarding John Gruden and Antonio Brown, and um, they also discussed some of the issues that happened in Pittsburgh that kind of forced Antonio Brown out of town. So I'm just gonna speak here and there, but I'm gonna let them talk.
All right, I'm Jason Whitlock. That's Marcellus Wiley. That dude.
Yes, sir.
Welcome to Speak for Yourself, the most fearless show in sports. Coming up, we'll tell you what to make of Jerry Jones' latest comments about Ezekiel Elliott. And 1 hour from now, I'll tell you why I don't like LeBron's AAU antics. We start today in the NFL. John Gruden reminds me of the 40-year-old divorcee who decides to let his 30-year-old stripper girlfriend move in. Oh, it's going to be so much fun. In 1977, Fleetwood Mac wrote a song about it. You make loving fun. I don't have to tell you, you're the only one. That's how the Oakland Raiders coach feels about star receiver Antonio Brown right now. A year after flying a helicopter into Pittsburgh's training camp, Brown arrived at Oakland's camp via hot air balloon. That should be a warning sign to Gruden. Brown is bringing his hot air circus to Raiders land. But Gruden was so miserable in his last marriage to the ESPN politically correct Monday Night Football gig that he now wants a relationship of danger. He wants to kick it with an uninhibited party girl with a perfect body. AB is a football Instagram model. Gruden is in love unconditionally.
I expect a lot more drama from number 84. I really do. I told Antonio, try not to yell at Derek. Yell at me when you have a problem. Then he started yelling at me. I said, don't yell at me, yell at Olsen. He's the offensive coordinator. He's a fun guy to be around, man. I expected a little bit more than a hot air balloon. I thought he might jump out of an airplane and parachute here himself, but he's going to add a lot of life to this organization at a position where obviously we need some explosive plays.
All right,
Translation is, I'm willing to put up with his antics as long as the production is there. John Gruden strikes me as the kind of guy who's intelligent enough, and he knows that, and he demands control. You know, like, I thought that I don't know. I thought it was an interesting signing for them to give him a 10-year deal. You know, and I thought that, you know, that afforded him at least 2, maybe 3 years to shape this team however he feels the need, and that whatever the record is at the end of the season won't count against him or his job position. But yeah, I don't think that he wants the same outcome that last year the Oakland Raiders had. I'm pretty sure he wants to do everything in his power to avoid that outcome again. So he's going to say whatever he needs to please Antonio Brown, to try to get the most out of Antonio Brown. The Pittsburgh situation was such a contentious environment, and it didn't stop Antonio Brown's production, but it really didn't help him succeed more. You know, and although I think that Antonio Brown has, for the most part, as you know, as a team player, has underwhelmed and underperformed and underachieved, I think that as an individual athlete, I mean, this dude is still, in my opinion, the best wide receiver in the NFL. See, and people say a lot about what's his name, D'Angelo Hopkins, in Houston, about how great he is, how great his hands is, and you know how his ability to catch the ball in traffic and stuff like that. And although I think that D-Hop is pretty much a bona fide superstar at the wide receiver position, I mean, this dude is like 6'3", 6'4". I mean, he's tall, if he's that tall, but he isn't tall. He's a lot taller than Antonio Brown, but Antonio Brown is able to do some of the things that I've seen why am I calling him D'Angelo? DeAndre Hopkins, sorry. I couldn't pinpoint his names. I think I kind of guessed, but DeAndre Hopkins, has the height advantage. You know, he also has the reach advantage to be able to make some of those throws. But some of the plays that I've seen Antonio Brown make is just unbelievable for a guy his size. I mean, and thank goodness he has the quickness he has because his ability to find the openings in the field and get there quickly and get in a position to catch the ball is second to none. But that's what they brought Antonio Brown in for. I mean, his antics is his antics, and football, the NFL particularly, is an entertainment business. So when people have major problems with people being entertainers, I mean, I don't get it. Their job is to be entertainment. That's their job. Is to please the fans. Is to, give the fans something to marvel at. That's their job. And when a guy like Antonio Brown does stuff like that, and for Antonio Brown, this is like a 24/7 job for him. He's an entertainer on and off the field. But I do think that there's a limit to the antics. There should be a limit to the antics. You don't want somebody just doing whatever they want to do when they feel like they want to do it. And I think Antonio Brown, to see a strong culture in the locker room will stop him from doing things like that. Will put a cap on his personality a little bit, not too much of a stranglehold. You want him to feel free. You want him to feel like he can express himself because that may contribute to him playing better. But I mean, in Pittsburgh, I don't know, man. I think they let him do whatever he wanted to do, and then when it came time to put the blame on somebody, they put it all on him, and he took none of the responsibility, especially Ben Roethlisberger.
Never been married or divorced, but I've made a multitude of bad dating decisions. I've chosen wild over mild and suffered the consequences too many times. It always starts out great. You're on the phone with your boys every other weekend. Dog, you won't believe what happened to me this weekend. We went to Rhino. Doesn't take long for the shine to wear off. 2 or 3 months in, you just want to go to bed at a decent hour and make it to work without needing to devour a pot of coffee to start your workday. John Gruden is about to live this reality with AB, code name Angel Bambi. Gruden thinks he wants this drama. He thinks he can handle it. He's telling himself, hell, Mike Tomlin handled it for 9 years. I can do 1 or 2 standing on my head. Problem is, Angel Bambi got real money now. He's earned around $70 million and is scheduled to earn another $50 million over the next 3 years. No one can manage this version of AB. I understand Gruden's approach. He's choosing to embrace AB's drama. If Gruden pretends Brown isn't a distraction, it makes it more difficult for the media to push the distraction narrative.
Which is a great point.
And perhaps if Gruden remains unbothered by AB's "hey, look at me" stunts, AB will be less likely to do them. But eventually, Angel...
I don't know about that. That's like when they say if you ignore a bully, they'll eventually leave you alone and go on to somebody else that they can get a rise out of, which is not necessarily true. I mean, if this is what AB wants to do and they allow him to do it, he's going to keep doing it if he wants to do it. But it seems like Jason Whitlock is painting Antonio Brown as an attention seeker. Like he'll do it as long as he knows that it's going to get your attention. And once you pretend that it's not a problem or it's not getting your attention, he'll stop doing it and he'll move on to something else. And I don't see him as that. I don't see Antonio Brown. Antonio Brown could just have one of those personalities that is just very rambunctious, very animated, very enthusiastic. He could just have a personality like that. Sometimes you have flamboyant personalities, and it's not that they're doing it to get attention. And I'm not saying that Antonio Brown isn't like that. I'm just saying that may not be, it's not always the case when you have a player like this. They said the same thing about Terrell Owens. They said the same thing about Randy Moss. I mean, that doesn't mean they're just trying to do it for attention. Maybe it's because they're getting the attention. A lot of players, when they're not used to the cameras, all the cameras being on them, focused on them, talking about them all the time, the moment it happens, it's like it's almost like an allergic reaction. You don't know how to react when it happens, and that could easily be the case. Antonio Brown could easily be just a flamboyant personality who now he has the platform to do so. He's doing it.
Bambi is going to be a major distraction and an engine of dysfunction. He'll make loving fun for about half the season. Then the reality of losing will set in, and Gruden will desire a wholesome boy next door.
The season hasn't started. Nobody has played the game yet, but already Jason Whitlock is on the fence saying they're going to start losing, and when they start losing, we're going to see the real Antonio Brown come out.
Door wide receiver. All right, joining the desk now is Fox Sports NFL analyst and another wide receiver.
Yeah.
Been gone way too long. Rick Jennings, welcome back.
I know.
Marcellus, I'll start with you. Mistake for Gruden to embrace AB's drama.
Not a mistake at all.
It depends on how you would approach a situation. If you think embracing a player's I feel like I'm about to make up a word. The eccentric nature of a player. If you feel like embracing it helps them feel a lot more freer and allows them to play better because of the fact that they feel like there are no restraints on their personality. See, people don't like being told what to do. If what you're telling them to do goes against their God-given right of free will. Like, if I'm sitting at the dinner table with my niece, my sister, my mom, my brother, whoever, and we're sitting down eating dinner and they start chewing very loudly in my ear, although it can easily be ignored, I tell them to stop and don't do it again. But they have, in my opinion, they have every right to sit there and chew as loud as they want. I mean, free will, that type of thing. Once you impede a person's free will, I mean, you kind of, Antonio Brown strikes me as the kind of player, if you tell him he can't do certain things, that there's no rules that say he can't do that, and you're just saying that he can't do it, as far as free will goes, then, I mean, he seems like the kind of person that will either quit on you, mentally just have a fucking, just fall back, fade away, and, he seems like that kind of person. I'm trying to explain it as best and as quickly as I possibly can, because I'm trying not to go into too much detail, but when you impede on a person's free will, you don't know what their reaction would be to that. So if they told Antonio Brown, we don't want no dancing, we don't want you, showboating in any way, which there are no rules besides the excessive celebration thing. But there are no rules to say that a player can't do certain things. There was no rule to say that Odell Beckham couldn't hit a kicking net. There were no rules that said that Terrell Owens couldn't, stand in the middle of the Dallas Star when he was in San Francisco, even though that it caused a reaction from the Dallas Cowboys players to become very hostile. Just like another situation that's similar to that one, when San Diego and New England played in playoffs against each other back when LaDainian Tomlinson was there, and New England beat them in the I think 21-17 or something to move on to the AFC Championship game, it could have been they met in the AFC Championship. But anyway, they beat them, and the players was mimicking Sean Merriman's celebration, a lights out celebration, and LaDainian Tomlinson was extremely upset by it. But there was nothing in the rules to say they couldn't do that or prevented them from doing that. Free will is very important, especially when you're the kind of person that thrives in that, being able to express yourself any way you want to without hurting anybody or breaking some kind of rule. that freedom of expression is very important to some people, and it seems like to me it seems like it's important to Antonio Brown to have that. And when they were putting the handcuffs on him in Pittsburgh, that's when a lot of the issues started to come
Smart play.
in. But I do have to say, him recording inside the locker room was an idiotic move. He shouldn't have did. I mean, there probably I can't say there are no rules. Pittsburgh probably has something in place that says he can't do it. But to be honest, I don't even think they do, because if there was a rule and he violated that rule, because if that's a rule, that has to be a very important one to not be recording inside the locker room. But if that's not a rule, that's the only thing I can justify for them not suspending him. Because if that is a rule, that is a pretty serious violation. But let's move back to the video.
Play right here. If you talk about all this drama, whatever you want to define that as.
Hot air balloon.
Okay. You know what the hot air balloon, or let's go before the helicopter ride and all the other antics came with? Production, brother. I mean, real life production. So it wasn't just a guy who's out here making noise, but there was a signal in there that I'm going to actually set this thing on fire from hello, and I won't stop till I get off this grass.
And I think that's what pisses people off about Terrell Owens, Randy Moss, and what's his name? Damn it, Antonio Brown. Shit. That's what pisses people off the most about them, is that you want to say something about their behavior. You want to find a way to punish them for their behavior, but they're so fucking productive. You really can't do anything. And if you do, you hurt your team in some way, because they're so productive. And I think that's what agitates fans. That's what agitates media members. That's what agitates sports analysts. And that's what agitates team officials, is that we want him to stop this bullshit he's doing, but he's so productive we don't want to piss him off.
And his work ethic, second to none. His production, second to none. And last year, I think that was an anomaly in terms of his character and what he was facing. Let me be real. In that locker room, AB, before last year, was a guy's like, I qualify to be a tier one. Ben Roethlisberger obviously qualifies to be a tier one. And Ben, you start calling me out.
Antonio Brown, of course, should be considered a tier one wide receiver. Ben Roethlisberger is questionable if he's a tier one wide receiver. I mean, quarterback. Jesus Christ, quarterback. It's very questionable. I wouldn't even know if he's a tier two quarterback. I mean, I don't know. I'm just saying, most likely he's a tier two quarterback, but Ben, I don't know, man. I don't know. This is a passing league, so you can't really go to the numbers, because obviously either his numbers will be the same as they've always been, or they will be better, because it's more of a passing league now anyway. But I don't know. I would have to go down a list of starting quarterbacks, and I would have to rank them in tiers, and we'll see where I would have to see where Big Ben lines up with that. But yeah, Antonio Brown is definitely a tier one wide receiver. I mean, this dude has been productive for a very long time. He was even productive when Michael Vick took over for Ben Roethlisberger after he got hurt.
Respect, brother. Just respect me and my game. You don't have to call me out. We could talk about this off mic, off radio shows, etc. But Ben went there. And then I think AB took...
When does Ben Roethlisberger never go there? I mean, he goes there against Mike Tomlin. What makes you think he's not going to go there with Antonio Brown?
The patient approach for a long time. Y'all going to check this dude? Because if not, I got to check him.
Obviously not. Ben Roethlisberger has been involved in some pretty skeevy things. Okay, and I've said this plenty of times, because this is a pretty big, serious allegation. If it's not true, but I so wholeheartedly believe it's true. This dude was accused of rape, which is a serious offense, man. But nobody talks about it. It's like the shit never happened. But we can keep talking about Ray Rice. Whenever we bring up Ray Rice, it's always the domestic abuse thing. Bring up Tariq Hill, it's the child abuse thing. Bring up anybody else, Kareem Hunt, domestic abuse thing. Like, but they talk about Ben Roethlisberger and that rape shit never comes up. It's like it never happened.
And then that's where things went awry. All I'm saying is John Gruden is smart. John Gruden is not a punk. Ask Keyshawn Johnson about how John Gruden gets down with these receivers if they get out of line. Send him home. Say, we'll pay you. Bye-bye. So John Gruden knows he has that in his back pocket.
Okay. I need to see a video. I'm going to look that up after this, but I need to see a video of him sending Keyshawn Johnson home. And I need to see what year that was because I'm pretty sure it wasn't the year they won the damn Super Bowl.
But right now, let's smile.
Let's go tell people they'll only pay for what they need with Liberty Mutual. Fine, I'll drive.
Let's win them over
Sorry for that.
with some honey before we got to show them that vinegar.
Yeah, I'm with you, Marcellus. I think this is a smart decision John Gruden is making. You embrace it because, number one, you went out to get it. So if you go get it, that means you know what you're in for. And maybe he doesn't know the totality of what he's in for, but you.
Or maybe John Gruden understands the eccentric nature of Antonio Brown, and he doesn't see it as big of a distraction as apparently Pittsburgh made it out to be. Because compared to some other players who are very disruptive, I don't think Antonio Brown is that bad. Now, the thing with the locker room, that was bad. But other than that, man, I don't see too many other things. I would say Odell Beckham being in a fucking hotel room with drugs is a far more serious thing than anything Antonio Brown has ever done.
You bring up some interesting points, and I want to touch on his relationship with Ben Roethlisberger and the Pittsburgh Steelers and how that kind of spiraled. At some point, you get tired of being the quiet one, of allowing things to just kind of go.
AB was quiet.
Yes.
At some point he was.
Yes.
Now, when he says AB was quiet, he's talking about in reference to speaking up about the things that's happening in the locker room, the things with the coaches, the things with Ben Roethlisberger, the nature of some of the incidents that probably happened within the organization. That's what he's talking about. He's not talking about celebrating and acting like a quote-unquote diva. Like, he's not talking about that. On that front, Antonio Brown is extremely vocal about that. But when it comes to, spotlighting on a lot of the issues that's happening, on the team, that's what he's talking about.
When it comes to when you feel like you're on the same level as now your quarterback and your production tells me that, look, my production over my drama any day of the week. You take it, you know what.
Although Ben Roethlisberger is a two-time Super Bowl champion at this point in his career, he is not. If we're talking about players, he's not even on the level of an Antonio Brown. Antonio Brown is so much more on a higher level than Ben Roethlisberger is. I mean, he has already had that. For years, he's had that.
I am, you know what I provide this team, but yet no one's really holding you accountable for the things that you may have said, for the things that you aren't doing behind closed doors. That becomes an issue.
Example, rape. Because I'm pretty sure that wasn't the first time Ben Roethlisberger has done it, and I'm pretty sure it wasn't the last time. Okay? Rape. Okay? And just to exclude the rape, because everybody loves to exclude the rape, just to exclude that and use something else, just the constant berating of the head coach, which shows lack of respect for Mike Tomlin, that's what makes me have a problem with Mike Tomlin. The fact that he'll let Ben Roethlisberger say whatever the hell he wants to about Ben Roethlisberger, and the only thing Mike Tomlin has ever came out and said in defense of himself is that I'm not worried about that. I'm focused on this team. Like, no, nigga, come on, bro. Like, you just threw Antonio Brown under the bus, so obviously you have no problem with defending your position against a player who you feel is responsible. Do that shit with Ben Roethlisberger, man. Stop being a bitch.
And when you do get paid, and you feel like, okay, now I have some more leverage. I have some say. You're going to start saying the things that other guys aren't saying because you want to know how it goes in the locker room. The guy with the most money and the guy with the most pull, everybody in the locker room saying, man, you need to say something,
Say
man.
something.
Say something, man.
Yep.
You're the only one that can say something to Ben. You're the only one that can say something to Tomlin. And
Nobody can say shit to Ben because the front office has Ben Roethlisberger's back. This is why Ben Roethlisberger feels comfortable with coming out and saying whatever he wants about Tomlin, saying whatever he wants about any other player on that team, because the front office has his fucking back, and it will back him. What did the dude come out and say? I believe it was the owner. What did he come out and say about Ben Roethlisberger? Or it could have been the GM, but he came out and he said that Ben is the leader of this team, and pretty much he said that Ben is the leader of this team. Everybody needs to fall in line with getting behind them, or your ass to be shut the fuck out. That's pretty much, so you're saying that you're giving this dude full reign over whatever. As long as it doesn't impose on your position, you're willing to give him cachet. Okay? So that's the hierarchy. All right? It's the front office. It's the owner, it's the GM, it's Ben Roethlisberger, Mike Tomlin, and everybody else is below that.
he'll listen. So that's in his ear. So then he says something, and then it's all on him. Well, he's really being the voice that everybody else doesn't have, but they're living vicariously through his actions and what he's saying. And so I think with John Gruden, he's going to be great because he's the biggest antic. He's the biggest showman. It's all about him, and he's going to love the way he works. As long as that production, you hit it, the nail on the head, as long as that production still stays there, I'll take the drama.
So just remember that part of the drama is like AB not showing up on a Saturday before a game, AB being late to everything. And so
that's part of the drama, but that's not a big piece of the drama. The biggest issue that happened in Pittsburgh was Pittsburgh didn't win. They missed the playoffs this year. There was a lot of questions around why is this team so good, but the team can't win shit. They can't seem to get past New England. They're just being bested on almost every fucking front, and they didn't even win the damn division this year. They lost to fucking Baltimore. They even was behind Cleveland. Cleveland has been a cellar dweller for fucking damn near 20 years. And they even finished behind fucking Cleveland. And so now the questions start about who's responsible for what's happening in Pittsburgh. You can't blame Ben Roethlisberger because he has the trust and he has the confidence of the front office. You really don't want to blame Mike Tomlin because although you may, if you could find a better candidate to come coach a team, you would. But for some reason, you just don't want to let him go. Because whoever you blame, you're going to have to let them go. So the only one that you can think of that may be the most suitable scapegoat is the wide receiver, because wide receiver is one of those positions that is just super easy to find good to great wide receivers. It's just super easy to find because that position is not that difficult when you're talking about all the positions on the football field. It's like top 3 of not that hard positions to play on the football field. Top 5. I'm going to go top 5. So you can find another Antonio Brown. You can find another somebody somewhere down the line. And they think that they found that guy in Juju. And I'm not saying they haven't, but again, Juju has benefited from playing with Antonio Brown. When you're playing with a receiver as dominant as he is going to draw a lot more attention, which takes some of the pressure off of you. So
what John Gruden has done, and it's appropriate you're wearing a green jacket, is he's waved a green flag. AB, do AB.
Go.
Whatever you want to do, I'm going to justify it. I'm going to rationalize it. He has...
You're saying it like it's a bad thing. Like he's, what do you call it? Like he's condoning what Antonio Brown is doing. Do you know what's even more ridiculous? That Pittsburgh still condones what Ben Roethlisberger does. That's an even bigger joke.
He's set loose, AB, to do whatever he wants, and the rest of those guys are going to follow. Because as y'all know, whether the production backs it up, 60% of that locker room feel, man, I'm just as good as him. All I need is the opportunity.
Who? Where? What?
60% of the
Think they're as good as AB?
Yes.
When?
Most of these players think that they're better than the player that's best at their position, even if they aren't on their team. If you ask on the worst team with the worst defensive backs in the league, you ask the worst defensive back on that team, are you as good as any of these other guys? He'll probably say yes. It's a self-confidence thing.
Given the opportunity.
I'm with you there.
All-Pro 6 times.
I'm with him there. Guys think that they're better than.
Yeah, for real. Like, you ask any one of these players that don't start, can you be an All-Pro? He's sure. If I get the time, if I play more, sure. I'm just as good as anybody.
They think they AB?
Yes.
They might think they're
There's
even
levels
better.
to this, but I'm gonna let y'all.
I'm with.
There are, but when you're talking about mentality, there are no levels to it. The work is what separates the greats from the average. Not the mentality, it's the work.
I understand, but what he's saying is it's true.
We have confidence, but we ain't stupid.
You're right, but guys think that they're better than what they are
look,
because of the.
Sorry, give me 5 seconds. Sorry. Okay, I just need to make sure. All right, but I'm about to end the video pretty soon. Probably do another one.
Lack of opportunities.
Yeah.
Yes.
And AB gets
I
those.
was treated that way.
I could do that.
But you know what's weird about this treatment? It is such a short shelf life in terms of how long he was an issue in Pittsburgh. Look, when you say he's being late to the meetings, when you say that AB is missing Saturday, that's when the cat's out the bag. As you said, this dude took the high road for so long. And look, you can own a house on the high road, but you're going to rent that apartment on the low road.